Gospel and homily for the 7th Sunday of Easter, Year B. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus raised his eyes to heaven and said, Holy Father, keep those you have given me true to your name, so that they may be one like us. While I was with them, I kept those you had given me true to your name. I've watched over them, and not one is lost, except the one who chose to be lost. And this was to fulfill the Scriptures. But now I am coming to you, and while still in the world, I say these things to share my joy with them to the full. I passed your word on to them, and the world hated them, because they belong to the world no more than I belong to the world. I'm not asking you to remove them from the world, but to protect them from the evil one. They do not belong to the world any more than I belong to the world. Consecrate them in the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. And for their sake I consecrate myself, so that they too may be consecrated in truth. The Gospel of the Lord. Today's 7th Sunday of Easter is sometimes designated as Communication Sunday. Now, there's a story told about this guy who decided that he had enough of prison, so he decided to tunnel his way out. After growing weary of tunneling, he decided to be safe enough to come up over ground. When he emerged over ground, lo and behold, he found himself in the middle of a playground full of 4-year-olds. With great excitement, he started jumping up and down and shouting, "I'm free! I'm free! I'm free!" One little girl piped up, "That's nothing, I'm 4. We communicate mostly through words, but they sometimes can mean different things to different people. I sometimes feel that the Catholic Church is a bit like that in the area of communications. For instance, at the time of Pope John Paul II's funeral, we got quite a positive lot of media coverage. The Polish Pope, of course, being very much a media figure. But this flurry of interest was mostly short-lived. He had myriads of admirers, but his fair share of detractors as well. I suppose a bit like the present Pope. You can't get everyone to like you. Overall, I would say that the secular press are more apt to carry stories of a contentious nature about religion and overlook the positive contribution which the Church has made over the centuries to the betterment of mankind. For instance, we were one of the main agents in bringing civilization to the world. Without the Church, the world would be far less civilized. We started schools, we started universities, we started hospitals, we started social work. We were the ones who started all the things which we really enjoy now in a democratic society. In 2009, when Pope Benedict visited the Holy Land, some in the press were focused more on the 17-year-old's involvement with the Hitler Youth some 60 years before than his heartfelt pleading for a radical overhaul of approach in the Holy Land which would pave the way for lasting peace. This should have been the headlines rather than what happened 60 years previous. He told them, that's the Holy Father at the time, 2009, he told them to tear down the walls and open up channels of communication for peace to be given a chance. If they had listened to his words then and took them on board, this carnage, destruction, and man-made famine we see today would be unthinkable. Jesus predicted the total destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70, if you remember, he shed tears over it actually. And Jerusalem was utterly destroyed in AD 70 under the armies of Titus, because by and large the people at the time ignored his message. 40 years previous, they ignored his message. They turned their backs on him. There are consequences, for subverting the Word of God. Modern culture, by and large, does not sit easily with organized religion. But let's not undervalue ourselves as Catholic Christians and hide the light of our faith under a bushel. We're in the business of communication. We often praise people, sometimes at funerals, for keeping the faith. But we should really say, did you share the faith as well? It's not meant to be kept to yourself. It's meant to be transmitted to a wider audience. It is of paramount importance that we don't muddy the waters, but transmit the Catholic faith in a clear, unadulterated manner, whether orally or in print. Shilly-shallying on religious issues is more often than not, a betrayal of the truth. For today's rather skeptical audience, we need to communicate, whether orally or in print, the full message of the gospel from a commanding standpoint. Recent popes spoke about the dangers of relativism, especially in the context of morality. Modern man feels ill at ease with an objective moral order, hence the appeal of relativism, which is often just a cop-out for facing reality. Yes, the Church is in the business of world communications, even though it may appear to be a dialogue with the deaf at times. We need to use every means of communication, orally, electronically, or in print, at our disposal to transmit the perennial gospel truth to a contemporary audience with enthusiasm and effectiveness, and not to flinch from the task. Thank you all very much for listening. God bless you all.